Hello, my friends! Welcome to our Plant of the Month series. And this month, we're exploring a very special autumn favorite, the pumpkin. So, I filmed the pumpkin all summer through every stage of its growth, from tiny seedlings to those huge, growing orange fruits. And I decided to put it all together in one video. It's a short little story about pumpkins, and I can't wait to share it with you. And after our detailed explorations, we'll start drawing this plant together, step by step. So, let's start! My pumpkin story began last spring. These is cozy little sprouts. Yes, they're our future pumpkins, and I had so many of them growing in tiny pots. Soon after, I planted them out in the garden where they started their journey, slowly turning into real pumpkins. So, that was the very first stage, these tiny, fragile seedlings. Time passed, and honestly, it happened really fast. Soon the garden was full of strong pumpkin vines. They started sending out their curly tendrils, spreading all around the garden, climbing everywhere they could. Just look at those big, soft leaves. I love how lush and cozy they look. Let me show you a closer look. Here are the vines and these cute little tendrils. And here is our very first baby pumpkin. It's still so tiny. I'm holding it in my hand so you can see the size. These little fruits have just started to form. And here are the pumpkin flowers. It was actually quite hard to capture them on camera because they closed up so quickly. I'm not sure why that happens, but luckily I managed to get a few shots. I really enjoyed watching my pumpkins grow through the summer, but once I decided to carefully follow the whole process, I felt like I got much closer to the plant. And now, look, this is the same pumpkin I showed you at the very beginning. It's grown so much, it already fits perfectly in my hand. And here it is, just 1 month later. Can you believe it? It grew this big in only a month. That's incredible. By late summer, we finally harvested everything. Look how many colorful pumpkins we got this year. Some of them are still green. We had to pick them early because of the first frosts coming. But that doesn't affect their quality. It's just that their skin didn't have time to turn orange yet. So, here they are, our beautiful, cheerful pumpkins. Just look at this autumn magic. Well, now it's time to start drawing our pumpkins. But before we do that, let's take a closer look at all the main parts of the plant: the fruit, stem, leaves, and the flowers. Let's start with the leaf. Look how big and beautiful the pumpkin leaf is. The main feature of this leaf is that it has a palmate venation type. That means all the main veins spread out from one center point, usually 5 main veins. This is very typical for the pumpkin family. If we look at our leaf identification chart, we can clearly see this palmate pattern. Here it is, 5 main veins coming out from one single point. Now, you might wonder, what's the leaf shape type of the pumpkin? Because it don't really look like any simple leaf, we know, right? That's because the pumpkin leaves are a bit special. In botany, we can say they are in between a simple and a compound leaf, kind of a transformation from one to the other. So, in simple terms, pumpkin leaves are simple leaves, but they are lobed. They have these beautiful deep cuts, or lobes, along the edges. Some pumpkin species have leaves that are more deeply lobed or even partly divided, but the basic structure is always the same. Let's take another look. See these lobes? Those are the rounded parts separated by the small indentations. And look at the venation. It's so expressive and clear. You can easily see all the tiny veins on the surface. Now let's talk about the leaf margins, the edges of the leaf. In pumpkins, the margin is dentate, meaning it has small gentle teeth along the edge. You can see these tiny teeth if you look really close. The leaf tip or apex is acuminate. It ends in a slightly pointed shape. The leaf base is auriculate. It has those tiny little rounded lobes at the bottom, almost like tiny ears. And finally, the leaf attachment. The leaf is connected to the stem with a petiole, so we can say it has a petiolate attachment. Oh, and one more thing. The leaves grow on the stem in an alternate pattern. They take turns rather than growing opposite each other. Alright, now that we've explored the leaf in detail, let's take a closer look at the pumpkin flower. Now let's take a look at our flower identification key. The main thing we're interested in here is the corolla type. In general, there are two main types of corollas, gamma-petalose and polypetalose. In our case, the pumpkin flower is gamma-petalose, which means that all the petals are fused together, forming one single tube or bell shape. The one that looks most similar to the pumpkin is the funnel-form flower. You can see how the petals narrow near the base and then open up like a funnel on top. Still, all 5 petals are joined together. They are not separate from each other. If we look closely at the structure, we can count 5 fused petals, and their surface has such a beautiful, delicate texture. I really want to capture that in my botanical drawing. Those folds and soft lines make the pumpkin flower so interesting to study. And let's take a closer look at the center of the flower. See how the stamens and pistil are fused together too. The whole structure looks so unique and elegant. If you enjoyed exploring the leaf and flower structure with me, I just want to remind you that both of these reference charts, the leaf and flower identification keys, are available for you to download for free. I'll leave a link so you can easily get them and use in your own plant studies. Next, let's take a look at the most exciting part, the pumpkin fruit itself. For my drawing, I choose a few different pumpkins, but since pumpkins can be quite large, I wanted to pick a smaller one. It's just easier to study and sketch in a sketchbook. So I decided to go with this little pumpkin right here. I really love its shape and texture. It's so charming. I think this one will be perfect for our drawing today. In my botanical sketchbook, I want to draw not just the whole pumpkin, but also a cross-section to show how the seeds are arranged inside. I find that part especially interesting and educational. So I carefully cut one segment from the pumpkin to study its inner structure. If we look closer, we can see 3 main parts: the outer rind, the soft flesh, and the seeds, which are arranged neatly in rows inside the center. That's basically how the inner part of the pumpkin is built. So for today's drawing, I'll focus on this small pumpkin. It's perfect because I can clearly see both the inside and the outside at the same time. Well, it's finally time for the most exciting part, drawing the pumpkin in my botanical sketchbook. And before we begin, I'd love to flip through some of the pages I already have. Many of these plants we've drawn together in our Botanical Club on the Patreon. So if you're new here, you can find full tutorials for most of the plants you see in this sketchbook. Each one includes the whole process, from the first pencil lines to the final details. I'll leave a link to the club so you can easily join and follow along. Now let's open a fresh page and start sketching. Here, I'm making the very first light outlines, just a rough sketch to plan the composition before adding any details. I'll show you the whole process quickly so you can see how the drawing takes shape. As you can see, I've already outlined the general shapes. On the left side, I have the entire pumpkin plant with the leaf, flower, stem and fruit. And on the right side, there is a cross-section of the pumpkin and a close-up of the flower structure. Throughout this month in the Botanical Club, we'll keep developing this illustration step by step, starting from the line work and moving toward the final touches. It's going to be a fascinating month. Pumpkins are not the easiest plant to draw. They're complex, with so many textures and details, but that's exactly what makes them so rewarding to study. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it inspiring. See you soon and happy drawing! Bye-bye!